What's up, guys? Today's conversation is going to be very specific, how to source better items on eBay. And I want to talk specifically about hints. So, one of my big categories is jeans. So, when we are sourcing, we always check the crotch area, we check all the buttons and zippers if they work. And then we check the inside of the pants to make sure there's no surprises, right? So, we go through that checklist every single time we do it when we're sourcing. When right before photography, we do the same thing, and that's been helping the quality control. And then also, I've been putting a green sticker if there's some kind of flaw that seems unusual in the photo. But this process of going through all of it has helped me sourcing wise, because we're feeling the material and everyone. Sometimes there are brands I've never heard of. And my strategy during sourcing is to look them all up at the end instead of doing it one at a time. I get all a pile of things I've never heard of. At the end, I go look at them one at a time after I've already gone through everything, because that's more efficient for me. Plus, you can get them all before your competition gets them. Especially where I live, there's a lot of people in the thrift store, and people are saying that thrifting is not popular. There's 50 people in every single thrift store that I go to. It's really popular. They wouldn't charge $10 an item if they didn't sell it for $10 an item. So I don't see thrifting going down. People aren't spending $50 on an item at the mall. I don't see that being a huge trend. Then no one is at the mall here. Goodwill's way busier than Nordstrom. So anyway, that's just my experience living here. Michelle, this topic came from you. Do you want to start? Do you have a sourcing tip, or you had mentioned like maybe shoes with leather soles, something like that?
Yeah, if Isaiah's here, he should probably talk about shoes since I don't sell shoes.
Yeah.
But for clothing, probably the best tip that I've ever heard, which helped me tremendously when I was brand new doing clothes, was that when you look at the tag, the ones that are just like tacked in at the corners are usually higher end brands
Mm,
versus the ones that are like fully sewn all the way around. Don't
mm.
know why. But if you look for those like that are tacked at the corners, it's not 100%, but it's a really good sign that it's a decent brand that you might want to look up.
I love it. That's a great tip. I think anything that looks a little bit more handmade might be worth at least looking up because of that. That manufactured clothing is all streamlined. Cool. Linda Anderson, good morning.
Good morning.
Hopefully, we can talk to a lot of non-clothing sellers today. What
Um,
kind of trends do you see?
well, I don't know about trends, but since I do mostly vintage,
Mhm.
which I guess is a trend, estate sales are my best bet for getting inventory for jewelry, where you can get in bulk. It's pretty, accessible to most people. Um, I know a lot of people here in Denver, so I can get bulk buys of jewelry out of antique stores and things. But that is something you can do. When I owned an antique store, people would come and sell me things every day, all kinds of things. So if you
Mm.
go talk to your local stores, you can say the things that you're looking to buy, especially with vintage clothing, and tell them you're interested. And if they know they have a buyer, then they'll buy that stuff for you and think about you.
So I think 50% of the garage sales that I go to have a jewelry bag,
Mhm.
like a bag, or it could be costume jewelry. If it's fancier, they'll usually lay it out one by one and charge a little bit more. But sometimes there's a big pile of jewelry. How do you approach that?
A lot of times I'll ask them if they're willing to sell it all at once in a bulk. I'll look at a bag. I have the knowledge now that I can see if there's any profit in a bag. Most of it's going to be modern costume, which isn't necessarily bad, but you just have to look. A lot of times it's lower end or, stuff for kids. So plastic is typically something you'd stay away from unless it's vintage.
Do you look for one piece to pay for the whole lot, or how do you approach the what you offer?
Yeah, or I just, I know what I'll make on like 10 pairs of earrings. So it may not be one piece, and then maybe a couple, a few pieces that I can put together to pay for the whole thing.
I love it. And guys, for everyone listening, eventually Linda will have a dedicated jewelry chat where she talks about selling jewelry. It's a very, very big category. And as you guys know, I know that lady, her username is Masha Silver, Masha Silver. She's a manufacturer of Native American jewelry in New Mexico, and she can make anything that's sterling silver. So if you have a design and you want to make a replenishable, she sent me a custom baby rattle, which is really cool. That doesn't even exist on eBay. So you could come up with your own thing, and you don't have to have it manufactured in Asia. You can have it manufactured here if you have a an idea. And her issue is uh her issue is she needs help finding the right styles because her expertise is manufacturing, not selling on eBay. So for those of you that can find, it costs I think $15 million to make that factory that she has that can make any kind of Native American jewelry. It's very expensive to actually make the stuff. So anything with beads, Native American jewelry, turquoise, all that stuff, they put it together down there. It's all handmade. Let's see here. I'll put that in the chat so people can look up her store. Masha Silver. She's a wholesaler. Let me just put this in. And yeah, cool lady. Let's go with Gary. Gary, good morning. What do you look for when you're out there in the trenches? Hopefully he can chat.
Yes, I can chat. So when I'm out, I'm just looking for the things that I know sell well for me, which my bread and butter are things that I don't think that you have where you live. I know you've talked about things like Duluth and Carhartt. I find those all the time. So I look for those kind of things, and I've been branching into women's. So I'm trying really hard to learn women's clothing, but I tell you, it is, I don't know how everybody else feels, but it's got to be 5 times what men's is as far as the different styles and cuts and fits and, what kind of things sell and what kind of things don't. So I've been trying with women's clothing with jeans and pants mostly. That's where I've been as of late. And it's a lot easier in my area to find women's things. In the men's section of my local thrift store, to find a pair of jeans at all is tough, and to find a pair of jeans that is sellable is even more tough. So with the amount that I have to choose from, I have to branch into women's.
I got you. One more thought I want to share is Catherine is asking what area you live in, Gary.
So I live in Ohio.
Okay.
On the Pennsylvania border. I'm probably about an hour from Pittsburgh, so I'm in the Ohio Valley.
So one thing I was thinking is one of the fastest ways I learned women's clothing is I went sourcing with other women. That is like a game changer because they'll tell you what styles to look for. Or people who sell women's clothing primarily are good at figuring out which items to sell. So I would go show them which men's items to buy and then just trade services. And that's a nice thing because the men's section of the thrift store is more profitable. Everybody knows that, but it's much smaller.
Right.
So it's hard to figure that out. And also a lot of men's thrifted clothing is completely thrashed. It's not even usable. So it would be for someone to use personally that you couldn't resell it.
Yeah, I'm also finding women are way more picky about things too. So it's just, it's a learning process that I'm trying to go through. And I know from experience that you just have to dive in head first. So I'm trying to be smart about it, but at the same time, be open to things.
Yep. Great. Let's go with Cheryl. Cheryl, can you chat?
Yeah, I can chat.
What's something you look for when you're outsourcing?
I'm just learning about clothes, but I like to go to the Habitat for Humanity Restore.
And
you could buy something for $20 and flip it for $100.
And is that like Here it's mainly furniture. What kind of things are you buying there?
Like faucet attachments,
Okay.
filters,
Yeah.
the small items. The ones here have smaller items.
One thing I want to say about that is that I think home goods passed clothing. Someone told me that the amount of home goods sold on eBay is more than clothing now, which is like candles, everything in your house that now is over clothing as far as number of items. So that's a great category.
So
Cool.
I've been going into that category to find things.
I haven't been to that store in a long time. I might have to stop by and see what kind of things you find. Small
Hit or miss,
guess.
just like any other thrift.
I wonder about attachments, and maybe you can ask Thomas. Thomas, you're a plumber. What should people be looking for as far as attachments, sinks, faucets, toilets? Should people be buying that stuff?
Yeah, I mean, if you're a plumber, if you're a tradesperson buyer, then obviously it'd be sort of fixings and fixtures. So your push fit fittings, Yorkshire fittings, solder fittings, and the tools to do the job. But I mean, if you're buying appliances, then I mean, a lot of people tend to buy wholesale off suppliers because it's cheaper. And trying to ship like basins and baths and sinks and stuff like that, it's, you know, it's cost a lot of money to ship that kind of stuff. So unless you're big in the game, I don't think you've got a chance, really. I mean, I've got a load of faucets, taps, mixer taps from when I was plumbing, still do a little bit. And yeah, I just haven't got around to listing them just because of the weight. They just weigh a lot, and the postage kind of outweighs the value, really. I think like if you're going to sell anything trade related, whether it's plumbing, electrician, or you know, a bricky or whatever, then small hand tools and fixings and fixtures are probably your best bet, because you could buy them. You know, if you registered as a consumer, as a buyer on trade sites, suppliers, then you could get them at a discounted rate, like I do as a plumber, and then you can sell them for retail. So you could make a markup that way, I guess.
I want to ask about that because Jen suggested an idea earlier that was voted one of my best ideas ever, which was writing letters to real estate agents to get dibs on. Sometimes when someone is selling a home, it never makes it to an estate sale. Sometimes there's just a lot of ways to go business to business. So if you're dealing, and I would consider that the top form of sourcing, not hunting at the thrift store. It would be dealing with a real estate agent that they list 10 homes a month, and you are the person that goes there and handles the estate sale. That you wouldn't have millions of items to sell if you knew one real estate company that did 10 estate sales a month. So maybe we'll do a different call all on just the scripts of what you would say, how to network, how to be the person that people call when they need something. During the pandemic, I did 2 estate sales by myself. That's where I got a whole bunch of jewelry to send Linda, and all this furniture and all these tables. And I sold like 10 mid-century modern pieces. So it's interesting looking at how to reach out to specific people. And also, I'll tell you, in my storage unit, 90% of the units are tradesmen, plumbers, electricians. The big one is erection services that fix doors, garage. Those people make so much money. The people that fix garage doors, gates, fences, that's so expensive. They charge $700, $900 to do something. And inside their storage units, they never use anything in there. It's like 90% equipment they don't use. So I don't know how you would approach them and get it. But I mean, I feel like 90% of the units are completely unused. Go ahead, Thomas.
Sorry, Chris. Yeah, the price of materials in the UK now are just astronomical because importation tax at the minute is at all-time high because, you know, we've left the EU. And so there's extra administration fees and stuff. So the prices, I mean, last week you couldn't even get a bag of cement in the UK. It's really, really difficult. So if you are in the market of selling materials in, you know, plumbing materials or building materials, now's the time to get it on, because that stuff is fetching a premium in the UK right now. But the way to get it, I mean, if you want to get materials like building materials in bulk, is to just register. In the UK, you have to register yourself as a limited company. It's such like, and then you have to buy in volume. So the more you buy, the less you get it for, essentially. So you need to buy a lot of it. You know, if I'm putting in a bathroom and I buy a length of 3 meter copper pipe, it might cost me 15 quid. You know, but if I buy 100 3 meter lengths, then it might cost me sort of 9 quid for every 3 meters. So it's all about volume.
That makes me wonder in the group if we can like group by one category, because there's so many people in this group. And it's difficult to, like, I'm not a fan of people saying I bought this lot and it's too much stuff. I'll wholesale a bunch of it. That's not what I want to see. But if like, let's say Patty and I wanted to buy out a GameStop, and we're both video game sellers, and it costs $25,000 to buy out a truckload of games, and you both go in and do it, then you're paying 50 cents a game instead of $4 a game, regular wholesale. That sounds like a cool thing to set up eventually.
I have got one tip though. If you want to sell materials or plumbing materials online on eBay, if you buy a bag of fixings and fixtures, like a bag of 20, I bought some radiator covers. So I was putting in a central heating system, and they decided they didn't want the chrome radiator covers. They wanted the white radiator covers. And so I ended up with this bag of radiator covers. The bag only cost me 20 quid. And there was trying to think of the top of my head, I think there was like 48 or 50 radiator covers in there. And I sold them as sets of 2 for £3 on eBay plus shipping. And they all sold. So you can just buy, like in a local hardware store, and get a bag of fixings, like a bag of 20 push fit tees, or a bag of elbows or couplings or inserts or whatever, and then break that up and sell them in pairs. And people do buy it because the consumer is not like the tradesperson. They don't want a bag of 50 units. They just want the odd 2. Or if they've got a burst pipe, they just want one fitting. You know, they're not looking for a bag, you know, 50 or 20. So, you know, I was thinking about doing that at one point, but I'm kind of got my head deep in clothes at the minute. But yeah, that is a good tip there. Just go into your local hardware shop and buying a bag of 20 HEP fittings or couplings and setting them out in selling them as sets of 2, and you'll triple your money off that.
All right, let's go with Elmer. Elmer, sourcing tips, ideas.
Yeah, I do. Because of COVID, I started doing media. My thing is, I went to retirement homes. There's a complex around my house that has about 150 homes for all retirees. When somebody gets transferred or somebody passes, all their inventory, whatever their possessions are, the complex handles everything. So I went to them and I said, I would like to get all your media, LPs, CDs, DVDs, books. I will buy them in bulk. I get a call every 3 months to pick up their stuff. And I'm talking about, my truck is filled up every single time for a couple $100, which is a good thing. That's one thing you can do. You can just visit your local stores. As far as plumbing, I also deal with business industrial. I don't deal with home stuff. If you're going to get into plumbing, electrical, and all that stuff, I would suggest you get into the industrial side of things. As far as piecing things out, it's a pain because you're going to be spending a lot of time shipping out 1-2 little things. On my stuff, I try to bulk sell as much as I can because of time is money. And if you're going to be piecing one thing or 2 things, it's going to take a longer to ship than if you sell 100 pieces for $100 versus 100 pieces at $1 at a time. So that's my suggestion. And plumbing, electrical, industrial is the way to go. You don't get any returns. When people need it, they will buy it.
Yeah, I agree with you 100%. If you're selling in bulk, you know, and you're doing it, you know, if you're big in the game, then that's the way to do it. But I'm thinking if it's just a little side hustle and you just want a little extra income, then you can break it up and do it individually, because it's just one listing and you just increase your quantity. It's not like you're putting loads of little listings on, you just increase your quantity and do, multi buys and stuff like that. But yeah, definitely, like if you're big in the game, if I'm putting a bathroom in, I'm not going to go and look and buy 2 fittings. I'm going to want to buy 50 fittings or 100 fittings, but I'm just thinking of the consumer that doesn't need 50 fittings, and the hustler that only wants to, pocket a few quid here and there for the weekend.
Makes sense. Let's go with Jen. Jen, do you have any tips as a real estate agent yourself? How do you approach realtors or companies?
The tip was to send the letter to estate agents, companies,
Gotcha.
direct, and say, listen, I resell. I'm looking for X, Y, and Z in the letter, and I'll give you a good deal. Would like to buy you out before you go on sale, but if you don't want that, let me know when you're done, and you'll have stuff left over. I'll be the gal to clean you up. And I've gotten, I can't believe the last haul I got 2 Coach bags, a Dooney Bork, and 2 St. John knit suits. And I got 290 items from that sale for $100. So as far as I'm concerned, it's a good tip. The other tip I have is I'm in Arizona. There's a lot of 55 plus communities here. I actually send letters to homes and say, listen, if you're trying to downsize at all and you've got any kind of vintage clothing, I'm your gal. I haven't gotten any responses from it yet. I just started doing it about a month ago when I started this program. But I think it's going to work out really well. Somebody's either going to want to do it, or one of their kids is going to see it if they pass away, regrettably, and they'll give me a call. So that's my tip.
I would say that by far the most valuable things ever are estate sales. Has to be, because the person no longer needs it at all, right? That is where you find the $1 into 500. That's not at the thrift store usually very often. So I think being the first on the scene is really big. Or I guess being the last one to come pick it up. One of the estate sales that I did, they traded me 100% of the stuff in the house is free if you pay for the disposal. So I had to order those 40-foot long trailers. I think it was $700 for the big thing. And then when they brought the crew in, it was really sad because the person sold their house and they needed to be out immediately. So I went there and got as much stuff as I could, multiple carloads. Then I called part-time picker and he came and did a couple of carloads. And then the next day, it was like a 3,500 square foot house. It only took 3 hours for them to come in and put everything in the dumpster. It's fast. They came and threw everything away. But if you were the family, or if you knew how to help sort that stuff, there's probably another $3,000, $4,000, $5,000 worth of stuff that just was thrown away.
We should also know the estate companies, because there's 2 of them that I work with regularly who routinely grossly overprice things for their estate.
Yeah, absolutely.
And while they have a graduated discount as the days go on, because they're usually 2 or 3 days if it's a big house, by the time they're done, I mean, it's still too expensive. I mean, as a reseller, I know looking at that bag, I'm not going to be able to get much more than $30 for it, and you're selling it for 50. So, I do know them all pretty well, at least the ones that sell near me. And that's helped me decide whether or not I can really work with them. Those are the ones, though, that I'll buy everything at the end.
I wonder, when I go to the flea market and I'm walking around, somebody has something for $30 that sells for $20 on eBay. And I'm like, how can somebody buy this when its value is less than this? I think, right? And oftentimes they'll tell me this will sell here for $30. It won't sell for $30 online. But if 100 people walk by and see this, one person will buy it, just like the views on eBay. So that makes
Mercari. It's like Mercari. I mean, I accidentally oversold a bag once on eBay, and I sold the bag for $42. Mm-hmm. Literally within 2 hours, I hadn't taken it down yet on the other site. I sold it for $57 on Mercari.
Yeah.
Same bag. It's because people, the value is in the perception of whether or not they want it. I don't think they cared about looking up its value and what it sold for recently. They didn't do that.
One interesting thing about Mercari is they front load the traffic. So if, let's say eBay gives you 100 views per item, they'll give you 12 views, 14 views a day for 8 days or something. Mercari will give you all 100 views the first day. It's interesting how Mercari sets up their algorithm, because items will definitely sell faster than eBay, but if they don't sell, they take a lot, they may never sell. That's my experience with Mercari, because they give you all the traffic up front, because it's only based on whoever lists newest. So it's interesting. Let's go with Christopher Schott. Hopefully he can chat.
Yes, here I am.
What's up?
Thanks so much. It's wonderful to be with you guys. I've learned so much here lately. I'll be honest with you. I don't have a lot of knowledge on this.
Okay.
I go with my wife. We source all the time.
Mhm.
And the big things, you know, we have our laundry list, which is Columbia, PFG fishing,
Mhm.
PFH hunting, a lot of Cabela's, a lot of Carhartt, a lot of outdoor wear. We live on the eastern shore of the Chesapeake Bay. And we live right outside of DC. So we just have tons and tons of different shopping opportunities. So we pretty much go by watching you, Chris. We've been watching your show for forever, and you know, going off of what you say and trying to make it work. We found some wonderful bolos. We found a company called Magnolia Pearl out of Texas, and it was kind of funny. We picked the stuff up, and it was new with tags, but it looked like hobo clothes, and 3 items sold for $1,000 between a jacket and 2 t-shirts.
Oh my goodness.
Magnolia Pearl.
Everyone stop and write down Magnolia Pearl.
Tell you what, it's great. Check it out. Those people sell some stuff.
I'll tell you, this year I've looked through 1.8 million pieces of clothing.
Wow.
I have not seen one PFG hunting. I've never even heard of that.
PFH hunting. Yeah.
Oh, PFH.
Matter
hunting.
of fact, we just sold a pair of Columbia brush guard pants, huge. And the thing that was so fun about it was I packed those things up and I made them fit into a flat rate envelope,
Mhm.
which saved us a ton of money.
Yes.
So we're taking your turns. We're doing the origami thing on the envelopes, and it works, makes money, and it's great ideas.
Also, I really want to point out, like, people are modifying the envelope. You can't modify the envelope. It has to be able to seal on its own, without any additional tape. It's not against the post office rules to reinforce the seam, but it needs to be able to close without it. I see people like cutting holes and modifying the envelope. That does not count.
No. You can. All we do is we just, you know, we fold the bottom up left and right, fold the ends over.
Yeah.
And it's got to fit in there and close on its own. Yeah, you're 100% right about that.
Yeah. I find that a lot of packages that I see people sending out don't look neat. If they're not neat and there's edges poking out, you can fold the ears down. That's not against the rules. They can get caught in the equipment, and that can leave a poor buying experience. So just be careful as you guys are
Yes,
doing that. I do that every day. Great. So you're more experienced than you think. I haven't sold 3 out of 4,000. Go ahead.
There you go.
I love it. Deanna, what's up?
Hi. Okay. So I have one of my tips is that I've been using, and I don't know if this is my original thing, but when I go to a place where, like the Goodwill, where there's ambient noise, I'll be looking at things, trying to pick out, but if I need to look something up, I'll speak it into my phone, and then I can keep looking, and then I'll check, you know, what my phone says on eBay. And that way I can do both at the same time. But it's harder at a yard sale when everybody's quiet. I don't usually do it then, but that's one thing that I've been doing that has helped me speed up my sourcing. And then my other tip I was thinking of for looking for books at my Goodwill, they sell online. So there's not a lot there. But if you know your local area, if there's famous people in your local area that might have done a book signing, then those are the books you could look for know to check for a signature, and those would have more value. So that's one thing that I do. There's not a lot of famous people here, but there are a few that have done book signings. So I just make a note to keep looking for those.
Sorry, celebrity sells for so much. Like this is I like this guy Derek Sivers, so I reached out to him and he released a hardcover. Of the 1,000 hardcovers, I bought 400 of them. So he has 2 books that have hardcover that I own. I'm the only person selling them because I reached out and said I'm a big fan. And he doesn't care, so he sold me 400 of the 1,000. So, and I paid $4 each, which is cool. So the celebrity, the cool thing is that he signed all of them. So that's why they're worth a little bit more than the paperback version, which you can get anywhere. But if you figure out what local celebrities are near you, or what celebrities you know, you can reach out to them and become friends with them, and then maybe they'll hook you up with stuff, because that's how Kim Kardashian got started. She sold it all her rich friends and celebrity friends their stuff, and it has a heavy premium. A t-shirt that's worth nothing is worth $400 if Britney Spears wore it. You know, it's really mind-boggling. Let's go with Landon. Landon, what do you look for when you go out?
So again, I mostly do clothing and shoes, but one thing that I'm really imminent about is that don't waste your time with things that like don't matter when you're sourcing. For example, I live in North Dakota, and where I'm from, it's a little bit more rural. So there's like maybe 7 thrift stores in my area, but only like 3 of them are good. So I try to go to a state that's like an hour away from me, and they have a ton more thrift stores there.
Interesting.
So it's almost worth driving an hour there, hour back, so I can get better stuff. Oh yeah, Fargo, yeah. So
that's a
that
great
works
tip.
better for me.
There's definitely people who spend an entire day sourcing in a different state, take a road trip and go fill their car up somewhere else. And I recommend you definitely don't pick up stuff that's questionable. Just go to 1 more or 2 more thrift stores. Just keep going.
Yeah, that's a huge hack though.
Mm-hmm. Let's go with Brian Vent. Brian, good morning. What do you look for when you're out there?
Good morning. Well, I mean, obviously, it kind of depends on what you're trying to do. I think something like if you're a generalist, or if you have connections or way of unloading things, I mean, the time tested truth of buy in bulk works, and I've had really good success with storage units. Like I call this one storage unit. I bought the Nike unit. And I paid $110 for it, I think, and it was loaded with new Nikes, new Nike headbands. It probably turned out to be like a $10,000 unit. Now that's, for me, that's, 1 out of, I don't know. I've only probably done about 20, 25 units, but that's the best one. But I would say a typical unit would be, pay 100 to 200, make 500 to 1,000. The only downside is it's a lot of physical work, a lot of sorting. You got to take stuff to the dump. You're going to come across a lot of stuff that maybe you don't want to sell. So you got to figure that out. But if you want to get a lot of items cheaply, storage units can be a great way to get it.
I love it. I have not actually successfully purchased one, so I'll have to try. Just do one for fun, not as my main model, but I think that especially now that a lot of them are online.
Yeah, we went to I guess it was, I don't know. I guess it was last spring. We were doing some in-person ones, and Grimes Finds, he has a big YouTube channel.
Mm-hmm.
He's here in the Dallas area, and we kind of became friends with him, and we were bidding on a unit, and it had a safe, a cash safe, and he wanted. Of course, he has a YouTube channel, so he can create content from it too. So he would even tell us, I can bid up more than the average bidder, because I can make a video. And he made a really good video of him, like, you know, dragging this big safe behind his truck on this big property. But when he opened it up, you know, there was actually money in there. So you do have that element. And Nanotech talks about this a lot. A lot of storage unit buyers go to the flea market to unload, and a lot of them are looking for the treasure, and they don't really care about clothing or appliances or furniture. They're just looking for that big score. So that I guess that's another tip. I know Tech's talked about that a lot. If you could make friends with the people who are buying the storage units at the flea markets, and let them know what you're looking for, then they can source for you as well.
I only went to one storage auction with Locker Nuts. They have a YouTube channel also. And I was looking in the unit. I saw a guitar case, which, you know, was okay. A lot of alcohol, boxes and boxes of what looked like files. It was a 10 by 10. And so I'm like, okay, I'm going to get in on the action. I'm going to bid $50. So I'm thinking $50. First bid, $350. I'm like, what are you guys? So anyway, it went up to like $550, and it was being filmed. So they filmed while they were there. And then the video that Locker Nuts made was like, we got her fired or something, was a really good clickbaity title. And then my manager was in the video, like yelling at them because because they were parking. All of them have box trucks. So they parked all their box trucks in front of the unit, and there was no parking for regular customers, and she was pissed. And then anyway, so it makes me wonder, if you're competing against YouTubers, can you even win the auction? Because the more crazy the action is, the more fun it is to talk about on YouTube. And then so the person that won it did not have a YouTube channel. So I'm like, hey, if I help you clean out the unit, can I see what's in it? Because what is this? How is this worth so much money? It was worth nothing. They were hoping that the guitar case had something in it. They were hoping that inside the files they would find jewelry, but they didn't find any of that.
Yeah, you're looking like you're looking for clues. I mean, it's a lot of inferencing, a lot of detective work. You know,
yeah.
Are there boxes with a lot of dust, which you can infer that it's been there a long time, so you're more likely to find vintage antique things. You're just looking for little clues to try to figure out, are the boxes stacked neatly? You know, that implies the person cared about their items.
Yeah.
You're just looking for clues, and it's a gamble, but you know, I will say I've never lost money on a unit, but to me, the downside, it's a lot of work, physical work.
Yeah.
I would say with Brian, he was talking about like leaving clues. I've been trying to cycle in, like looking at storage units locally, maybe every Wednesday, or I mean, I went in on a couple months ago. I mean, yeah, it's a lot of work. But when Brian talks about leaving clues, like there was a storage unit came up and it had like a Rock Tour poster. You could just see the edge of it. And then in the back of it, there were boxes that were labeled like vinyl records. So you can kind of get a feel that maybe this guy was a collector, and, you know, the storage units started going up over 1,000 or whatnot. But, you know, if you can get little hints when you're looking at the bidding and then try to decide from there if it's going to be worth the risk.
I love it. Nick, any other thoughts when you're out there sourcing?
I mean, I am still working through. My sourcing has been on freeze for a long time. I would say probably about a month or two. I've just got a lot of small minimal items, and I'm really trying to refocus on my niching. So I'm working on cleaning out my office, getting some of this excess shelving out here. I have a photo set up here, but I want to reconfigure it and start working into a new niche. So I'm trying to organize and streamline, and it's been taking me some time. I mean, I got a lot of minis, you know, a lot of toys from a purchase I had a couple months ago. So I'm still finding some valuable stuff in there, but I got to start focusing on the volume. So, you know, eventually I'll start getting back out there. You know, I still try to keep an eye out for deals if I see anything, but, you know, sourcing has been on freeze for the time being.
I think also if you buy storage units, it's good to know a bunch of people in different niches. So maybe what I can do, since a lot of the YouTubers that do storage units live near me, maybe I can buy a unit and just say, I want all the clothing out of it, and you can have the rest as long as you help me clean it out. Maybe they'll trade me services And I know there are some people like What the Hales. The YouTube channel makes so much money, you can just give away the unit. So that's interesting too. One model, he doesn't resell. Not really.
When I actually,
Go ahead, Brian.
I'm sorry. Yeah, I actually took Wade's Ventures course because like in my journey before I kind of niched down, I've done everything. And I went through a storage unit phase, and I took his course, and it was actually good. It had a lot of good content in it. But talking to him, like he said, if you're gonna do storage units, he strongly recommended, creating a YouTube channel for the same reason we were talking about earlier, like Grimes Finds. He said he knows he could bid up to $500-600 on a unit because he can make that in revenue off of YouTube. So like the two work hand in hand. I think that'd be a good idea, Chris. Like a collab, you and a couple of those, y'all could show that storage unit from different points of view on your channel and their channel.
And they because when I met Locker Nuts, I bought a whole bunch of stuff that was in their car because I'm like, I just want to do something with you guys. That is, when I was talking to Jeremy of What the Hales, he tries to buy one a day. I'm like, holy crap, that is a lot. Can you imagine having to empty out a unit every day? That is a lot of stuff. But he makes content 7 days a week, so that's really hard to get enough stuff to buy. And you also need a building to put all the stuff in, because that's intense.
And I guess while we're on the topic of storage units, and I know it's been mentioned before, and we're talking about sourcing. So if you do look for a storage unit person you're trying to source from pretty consistently, it's kind of like all or nothing kind of thing. So to cherry pick the items that they're trying to resell for you is normally not going to happen. They're going to want to move the volume, and then you take the inventory and kind of work through it, unless they find a very niched collection or whatnot. But it's normally going to be volume buying.
All right, let's go with Jay. Jay, good morning. Sourcing tip.
Yeah, I do clothing, and I'm starting to learn like the clothing business like really quickly because all I do is study. But I noticed what's selling for me, believe it or not, is bomber jackets. Bomber jackets are selling really well for me. Jeans are just flying off the shelf. Like I had some Guess jeans, some True Religion, a good brand that's a bolo that I've never heard of is Scotch and Soda. I don't know if anyone's heard that brand, but it's a good brand. What's also selling for me is wool things, cashmere, linen is especially selling right now, shorts and
silk,
polos.
Yeah, I agree. Linen is selling really well. I was going to bring that up. Linen. Also, I'm not great at selling silk, but I believe silk, cashmere. Wool.
Yeah, probably. Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, it doesn't matter. Like hoodies are selling for me too. Like when I go sourcing, I guess you should be looking like according to the season, but I don't. If I find a North Face hoodie, I'm going to sell a North Face hoodie. If I happen to find some Tommy Bahama shorts, then I will sell those. But it doesn't seem, for me, it does not matter what the season is. I sold, a Dickies bomber jacket the other day, and I sold a cashmere sweater the other day. So, I mean, it doesn't really matter to me. And I listed those things, within a day, and they sold within 24 hours. So I don't think it really matters about seasonality. I don't really pay attention to it because I can't source enough for like summer. Like there's not enough shorts in my Goodwill stores for me to do that. So I just settled on jeans and pants, and they're my best sellers right now.
Yeah. I think my top category is still sweaters in the summer because they sell for more money than jackets, and sweaters sell for so much more money than shorts. So usually, even though you sell less of them, it's cold somewhere. And I'm in California, and my two workers wear jackets and sweaters every day, even though it's like here, like 70 is cold. So there's still year round. Plus work from home. A lot of people like comfortable sweaters. That's like the uniform for work at home.
That's the way I think of it. Like the, North Face hoodie to me is comfort. Like, I'm still buying, pants and hoodies myself. So if I know I'm doing it, I don't see why other people aren't. Another thing that I noticed, and I think I made a post in the group about, the uglier something is, the more likely it is to sell. So when I'm looking for jeans, like I decided to check out Echo Unlimited. I was like, nobody's buying that crap anymore. But I pulled out a couple pairs and I put them up and they sold the next day. So if you think Echo isn't selling, it is. And what I did is I looked for like the most ugly patterns. Like the uglier it was, I was like, the more unique it looked, I was like, if I hate it, it's definitely gonna sell. That's pretty much like how I do. Like when I source Tommy Hilfiger or Ralph Lauren, I'm always looking for hideous things, like things I would never wear. If I would never wear it, it's gonna sell, and it's been working for me so far. Because when I choose according to what I think is cute or what I think is gonna work, it just sits. And I started with women's clothing, and I was like, oh, this is super cute. This is super cute. And a month later, it's still there. But when I started paying attention to what I wouldn't buy or what's really working for people, and after doing research, obviously, like that's what's selling now, and my other crap is just sitting there.
Well, I have this quote written down. It says, I think this is, let me see. Sorry, let's see. Oh, being weird is considerate. I wrote that down because like being weird is cool. It used to not be cool. Now it's cool. So if you find some crazy pattern, like one brand that sells really well for me, I rarely find it, but it's Jam's World. If you guys have seen those tops are crazy looking. They sell for a lot of money. And they're, let's see if we can find one. Let's see. Jam's World. Not crazy, but I would say like a lot of these patterns to me look ugly. Right? But look at the prices. $69 for a used shirt. That's a lot to me. So let's see the solds. There's 2,371 for sale. 3,638. I would consider this excellent sell-through rate. Like no longer than 2 months and you get a really high dollar amount. But these patterns, I don't know if it's my style, right? But who cares? It's something that people are looking for. It's definitely unique. Let's look at high to low. I wonder what the most expensive Jam's World sold for. Wow, $1,200. That's awesome. That is awesome.
I sold some Johnny Was and another brand like UMGE or something like that. They make very unique like kind of clothing, things I would never pick up, but I heard some bolo tips and that sells really well for me too. It's on the women's side.
Yeah, Johnny Was is great. Isaiah, are you still here? Did he leave? Let me see. He had
I'm still here.
What's up? Did you have some sourcing tips? I know you do. You're full of them.
I had several things I wanted to say. Firstly, it was about storage units. That's why I raised my hand. If you keep your inventory in home, I'd be very, very careful about sourcing with storage unit people. Like if you sell shoes primarily, I don't know about with other categories, but I've done this with 2 different storage unit people. And it happened in both cases in which my house became infested with like spiders and other bugs because shoes, the bugs go inside the shoes because it's dark, comfortable. They typically aren't bothered, So if you're working with a storage unit person and like they just have a whole bunch of shoes inside of storage units, be very aware of that if you are doing your stuff at home, because it's a very, very good chance that you're going to run into some issues with spiders and other creatures. Maybe you like spiders. My wife hated them, so I had to stop that. What were you about to say?
Is there anyone that lives where there's scorpions or spider? That doesn't happen here.
Yeah.
It depends on where you live, maybe. But go ahead. I can understand that a shoe would be a comfortable place to live.
Yeah, dude. If a scorpion came out of a shoe, my wife would kill me. Like literally, I wouldn't be here anymore. Guys, it'd be over. But all right. So there's several things that there was an old lady who lived in a shoe. So several things I want to talk about when it came to sourcing for shoes. The most important thing is condition. I think that I can sell maybe 85 to 90% of shoes that are in good condition, regardless of brand. Of course, brand is highly important. You want to stick towards the brands that you know normally, things like Adidas, New Balance, Nike, Under Armour, et cetera, et cetera. Same thing with heels and dress shoes as well, like Echo and whatever. So, but condition is exponentially more important than brand, in my opinion, when it comes to having consistent sales and moving things quickly. Because my entire store is based around having a very high sell-through rate. So there are many times in which I'm able to source a shoe that may not have laces or it might not have insoles, but because the tread is really good, I'm able to still get that sale. So primarily, I would look to probably have a consistent route that you're going on when it comes to sourcing. You're hitting several stores at roughly the same times during the week. That makes it so that the people inside the stores know that you're going to come consistently and they can start to plan for your arrival. And that allows you to be able to acquire more inventory. You should base this route based on how much inventory is at those places at those times. So maybe you check out what a place is like on Tuesday at 3, and then, maybe Wednesday at 12, et cetera, et cetera. Even when you're inside the store, though, I think your route that you take should be also consistent because it's going to streamline how quickly you can go through the racks. Like you said, Chris, sometimes in the stores we're going against 30, 40 people. So you don't want to be in a situation in which you're changing the way that you go every day. So as a result, you're not moving as quickly. Of course, you shouldn't be that person that's like right behind someone trying to pull the shoes that they're getting ready to grab. But you should at least have, like, if you go men's, kids, women's, you should do it in that order every time. Just maybe a different part of that section depending on where people are. In addition to that, I think before you buy any shoes, I do this every time. Before you buy any pair of shoes, you should most definitely go to a secluded area. And when you're in that area, like hopefully you have like a window near you or good lighting so that you can check each individual shoe. There's many times in which, actually, here's a perfect example of it. So this shoe right here, I don't know if you guys can see it clearly, but this shoe right here, I ended up missing this. And as a result, I can't sell the shoe. This is a pair of Merles that I could probably sell for like 20, 30 bucks. But because this was in a situation in which I didn't check all the shoes as clearly. And as a result, I missed this. So that's $4 or $5 that I just threw away basically. And the only thing I can do now is get the laces off of that. So it's very, very important for you after you finish grabbing all the shoes to go to a secluded window or something like that and just go through each individual shoe, check to make sure there's no rips or tears. Now, don't get me wrong, you can sell shoes that have rips or tears. It's very, very possible. I sell them all the time. The thing is, I think when the shoe has flaws, it takes longer to list it because you have to describe that flaw, you have to photograph that flaw. And potentially you run into a situation in which it has other flaws as well that you didn't notice. So as a new person, I would strongly advise focusing on shoes with no rips or tears, original insoles. The laces are pretty good. The condition is good. You want a shoe that's roughly, if 10 out of 10 is a new shoe, you want to buy the shoes that are 7 out of 10s that are at a good price. That allows you to not have to spend several hours cleaning shoes, because I've spent so many hours cleaning shoes because I'm not doing these things. And there's people who can sell 12 shoes, and because the condition is good, they make just as much money as you would make if you have, if you sold 30 shoes, because your shoes are in as good condition. So I think that's highly important to ensure that you're condition checking every single shoe. It might seem tedious and boring, but it saves you a lot in the long run.
So Isaiah, I'm selling a pair of shoes for my wife in the new store as an experiment. Mm-hmm. Would you clean these shoes up? Because I didn't do anything. I just listed them. Mm-hmm. But would you clean this up?
Yes.
You would.
Totally. I clean every shoe. Well, gotcha. I clean most shoes. Some shoes when you first asked me the question, I was looking at the midsole, and the midsole didn't really look that dirty. So I was like, maybe you can get away with it. In a sense, what I'd probably end up doing though is like cleaning the midsole before I ship it out. Because I always my philosophy is I want the item to be better than what they thought it was going to be when they receive it. Okay. So I'd probably end up cleaning the midsole anyway. But totally, I think cleaning the shoes is a necessity, because no one wants to buy dirty shoes necessarily. They will, they do, but no one wants it, you know?
Oh, that's a good tip. Yeah, nobody wants
Like,
to buy something ratty and dirty.
yeah, no one, like, they don't want to bring it home and then you go, oh man, now I got to clean the shoe for myself in order to wear it outside. You don't want to put them in that position. So especially with a shoe like that, you might be able to get away with, I can't think of many shoes that you can get away with it with, excluding like maybe some stained UGG boots or something like that. Like, you don't have to get the stains off for that, but primarily you want to make sure that you're sourcing shoes that are, in good condition. 7 out of 10 when it comes to 10 out of 10 being new. I think that's the best thing to do for new resellers.
I have a question for that, Isaiah. Sorry to cut you off. Is it really worth it? Because I also sell shoes, and I mean, I'm like you. I mean, every single shoes that I source, I wash them, I clean them, because for me, it's just the same thing like you say. I mean, I want to sell something that that is clean. I want to sell something that I want to buy. You know what I'm saying? And I have seen a lot of, especially like, the big stores that they sell a lot of shoes, like on the eBay. Some of the shoes is like, they barely clean it. And it's a really worth it for like, 20 or $30 shoes to like, you spend like at least like, 20 minutes on that just to clean, to sell it for like $30. Is that really worth it?
Here's my philosophy on that. The reason why the bigger sellers are beating you is not because their stuff is better. It's because of their volume. They have, maybe they have 10,000 pairs of shoes and you have 300. So that's how they're able to sell shoes, because they just have a great track record. You never see Nike doing that. Nike isn't about to send out, even though they're a bigger seller, they're not selling people shoes that are disgusting. You know what I mean? So in my opinion, I think you should clean every shoe. And the reason why is because I care a lot about my sell-through rate. I don't want to be holding shoes for extended periods of time. And the dirtier a shoe is, the higher the chances of people deciding to bounce off of your listing. And if enough people bounce off your listing, the listing starts to get suppressed. And if that listing's suppressed, you don't sell it until 6 months from now, or 8 months from now, or maybe never. So in my opinion, I want to sell every shoe in 3 months or less. So in order to ensure that happens, I make sure that every shoe is clean.
Right. All right.
Yeah. So they're not beating you because they don't clean their shoes all the way or as thoroughly because they don't have to, because they have 10,000 pairs of shoes. So, people come to them and they're like, and I'm pretty sure in those situations, there's a good chance they're getting a lot of negative feedback. They could be getting several returns because people don't like the actual shoe, what it looks like. I want to make a perfect customer experience. So not perfect necessarily, but an excellent customer experience. And I think giving them dirty shoes wouldn't be the best way to do that. That's the primary.
It's funny though, because I had a customer, because he bought his shoes and he was like, man, I mean, this looks like new. And he actually asked me for the product that I clean my shoes with, which I sent him for free, because I grabbed that thing from on dollar store for like $1 and another like $2 to ship. I give him for free, which it's really good.
And that puts you in a position in which that guy comes back. That guy tells his wife like, hey, I got these shoes from here. Let's go get some more. Now, is that going to happen with every customer? No, but I think there's a lot of value in that as well. And that puts you in a position to, I don't know, I care a lot more about my reputation on eBay and building a good track record than like, just throwing things up basically. I care a lot about the products that I'm selling people.
Right. The only thing that I ask is because I'm saying, is that really worth it? Because I mean, I'm pretty sure that it takes a lot of time to clean shoes. Sometimes for me to clean like a 30 pair of shoes, it takes me like all day and stuff like that. I'm just saying, that is that really worth it for me to do that? And
once you get efficient in the process, you can clean 45 in like 4 hours or less. So if you spend 4 hours cleaning shoes, and then if you get your listings and photography right, photography should take you about an hour for 45 pairs. That's 5 hours of work. And then you list them, which is going to take around 3 hours, 8 hours of work. So even if you did all of the processes, it still only takes you 8 to 10 hours or so, right? If you include shipping. So 10 hours of work is just a basic normal work shift. So I don't think that that extra time is necessarily a bad thing. Now, don't get me wrong, you could like throw all your shoes in like a washing machine or something, and once they come out, put them in a shoe dryer, and then get them listed. You could do that. I don't think that's not what I do personally, but I don't think that's like the wrongest thing for anyone to do. You could do that. That's totally okay. You could not clean your shoes. That's okay as well. I don't want to say that like my way is the only way to do it. It's just that this is what's brought me success. And, I just feel like you should clean the shoes. Definitely. Because even at the worst, it takes you 8 hours, which is a normal work day.
Thanks, man.
Yeah, I'd say it depends on what you want. If you want to charge the most money for shoes, you will need to clean them. That's really the key. Like I always use Tino as I'm gonna pull it up because his store is really good and I want to share it. So here you go. Saeed,
and that's the good. And you see this. You brought up Tino yesterday as well, Chris. Like he does such a good job that every time you think about shoes, you think about him, and then you show him to all of us.
100%. I love his store. I love it.
That's the thing. Like that's why cleaning your shoes is so important.
I love it because his reputation. Look at his reputation. Every single pair is professionally cleaned.
Exactly.
That's the point. All right, guys. Everyone have a wonderful day. I will see you guys later.